anything in your life. Even when you maybe should have. You go through Night City knowing a stray bullet could end you while hailing a cab. Stop! But that's never stopped you from taking action. Going where you needed to go. And it won't stop you. Now. Johnny,
I really shouldn't have to introduce this game. I don't think I need to tell you the story of its disastrous launch and eventual redemption. In fact, I won't really be telling you why this game is considered a masterpiece like so many others have claimed. Plus, I don't even think I could articulate how much this game means to me on a personal level.
because I miss you all the time.
But what I can tell you is that, thanks to Luke Ross's Real VR mod, Cyberpunk 2077 is by far the most immersive gaming experience I've had in my life. And look, I know immersive is a word that gets thrown around a lot these days.
Immersive, fully immersive.
You keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
But let me try to show you what I mean. Playing Cyberpunk 2077 in VR feels like living in the year 2077, because how is this even possible? Playing this game in VR is legitimately the closest thing I felt to entering the Matrix and living another life, and that's despite this not even being a native VR game. Remember, this is just a fan-created mod that allows you to do this. And because of that fact, there are of course limitations, which I'll mention later, but the point of this video is to urge you to play this game if you have access to a gaming PC and a VR headset. It is absolutely worth experiencing this way.
It might be, it might not be. We'll see.
But in case you're already convinced you want to play this, let me quickly go over what you need to play, which is a decent gaming computer, a Steam copy of Cyberpunk 2077, Luke Ross's Real VR mod downloaded from his Patreon, and of course you'll need a VR headset that can connect to your PC. Which means if you're like me and have a Quest headset, you'll probably want something like this link cable from today's sponsor. That's right, this video is sponsored by Kiwi Design, who make all kinds of high quality VR accessories, but the one most relevant to today's video is this. This high-speed connection cable ensures that you're getting the sharpest visuals from your PC straight to your headset, because while sure, you could use AirLink or Virtual Desktop to stream your game to your headset, for me those still occasionally stutter or lose resolution. Of course, when you're playing a very physical PC VR game like Rumble, for example, you don't want to be tripping over a cable. But Cyberpunk 2077, along with most of the other games supported by this VR mod specifically, are definitely best played seated, where you'll prefer the stability of that wired connection. Now you could buy this from the official Meta store for $80. Are you kidding me? What? The one from Kiwi Design is $20, and that's without any discounts. I usually see it on sale for even cheaper, or you could use discount code VIRTUALBRO for 5% off. I'll have an affiliate link in the description. Alright, back to... Cyberpunk 2077 feels like it was made to be experienced in VR, and in case by the end of this video you're not convinced, please go watch this guy's video. It's so good. It really highlights those small but significant details that prove this point probably better than I could. But to briefly summarize, experiencing this game in virtual reality helps you better appreciate things like the meticulously detailed car interiors, the eye contact characters make when speaking to you, and the amazingly animated first-person cutscenes that you can now fully look around during. These are so cool.
AC's Legends! Know where you'll find most of them? The graveyard!
But it's not just the impressive visuals and the amazing story that makes this such an immersive experience. After all, what typically makes VR so special to me is that extra level of interactivity you get from putting your whole body into the game. So how well does this VR mod utilize hand gesture inputs and positional tracking? Well, it doesn't. And surprisingly, that's one of my favorite things about it. Very surprising, in fact. Any of you who have been following this channel know that my favorite VR games always utilize motion controls to their fullest, whether it's manually reloading a gun by hand or learning to swing a longsword most effectively. I love how well motion controls work for VR. Motion controls, motion control, motion control, motion control, VR motion control. But sometimes taking a step back from all the gimmicks and gadgets can really shine a light on what's truly important for making a good VR game.
Good soup.
And I believe we are way past the era of things being just fun to do in VR just because they're in VR. And I think evidence of this is the amount of flat screen games that have been modded to work in VR recently. Whether it's this Luke Ross mod or the Unreal Engine VR Injector mod, more and more people are discovering what's possible in this medium. Imagine being fully immersed in your favorite AAA franchise with no sacrifice to the amount of content or the quality of visuals. I'm desperately hoping that soon game companies will see the demand for this and start adding VR options to their major flat screen titles, and not like they did before, not those extremely short tacked on VR missions from Star Wars Battlefront or COD Infinite Warfare. Don't get me wrong, those were super fun at the time, but what VR needs now is more complete games. Games that are large enough to truly get invested in, that are deep enough to keep you wanting to come back, and that have a level of visual fidelity that makes it worth seeing on a screen that's centimeters away from your retinas.
You might feel a little discomfort at first. Blurred vision, low contrast, glitches.
For now though, at least we have modders. But not every flat screen game would work perfectly when modded into VR. There's something really special about the way Cyberpunk was designed that makes it so well suited for VR. If I had to sum up what that was in one word, it would be seamless. There are so few loading screens in this game that you could literally play for hours without seeing one, and you have no idea how impactful that is on your immersion. Waking up in your 5th floor apartment, walking out the door, taking the elevator down to street level, getting in your car and driving to the next story mission where it seamlessly begins and ends, all without a single cut or loading screen. Again, I'm hit with how is this even possible? I couldn't imagine trying to play Starfield in VR because of how often I'd be stuck in the black void of a loading screen, but it's not just this lack of loading screens that makes this experience feel so seamless. It's also the way that every important action your character does is fully animated from the first-person perspective.
Here goes.
In an era where we are still getting VR games with floating hands, it is so refreshing to have a fully detailed, realistically animated body to immerse yourself in, especially one that you can customize with different clothes and cyberware. And these frequent first-person animations add such a feeling of realness to the world, since they completely avoid any of that VR jank that comes from not being able to physically touch things. Like I said before, I'm all about motion controls and room scale VR. For the longest time, being seated for a VR game felt like missing the point, but this game changed my opinion. If you're going to play Cyberpunk 2077 in VR, you have to play seated.
Chair, please. Sit down and relax. Whatever you want, mama.
Most VR games, especially any that take advantage of room scale, have the player character standing and walking around, so naturally it feels most immersive to play while standing. This allows you to freely turn your body instead of using a thumbstick to rotate too, which can help reduce motion sickness. All in all, this sounds like the ideal way to play VR, and for many games it is. However, as these VR games get bigger and more ambitious, the load times get longer, the cutscenes and dialogue become more integral, and the overall length of the games is increasing too. All of these things contribute to one major problem. Owie, my feet hurt. No, seriously, I'm getting so tired of standing in the middle of my room, staring into the dark abyss that is these long black loading screens. And I'm tired of skipping past important dialogue just because I can't be bothered to stand here and do nothing and listen to someone yap. But everything changed when I discovered chair.
Chair.
Yeah, seated VR is low-key goated, but it really depends on the game. There are certainly VR games that are designed to be played with your whole body, like Blade and Sorcery, for example. Playing that game seated just feels like you're missing out on so much range of motion. It's really the VR games that are designed to be played seated that, well, are best played seated. Games like this can have a totally different feel to them since they don't have to get you straight into the action. The pacing can feel more natural, the story can take a more central role, and gameplay can have actual depth and not just rely on interactivity to be fun. Funnily enough, most flat screen games are designed to be played seated, so it makes sense that when we bring them into VR, sitting is the intended way to experience them, and that could not be more true for Cyberpunk. This game is probably 70% sitting down to talk to someone, driving a car somewhere, or sitting down in a car to talk to someone. And that is by no means a complaint. The voice acting and branching dialogue options are the best part of this game in my opinion. But if I were trying to play this game while standing, I would 100% be skipping past all this dialogue just to save my feet from aching, and that would be missing so much of what makes this game amazing. This is a long game with an expansive open world, optional side missions, 250,000 lines of dialogue. You're gonna want to get comfortable so you can truly enjoy each and every moment. And if you do this, you'll find yourself taking your time between jobs, exploring the Neon City streets, maybe taking the scenic route, maybe getting a drink at a bar, engaging in a completely optional conversation or text message, and all that really adds to a sense of presence in this world. One of my favorite things to do is simply admire the architecture of these huge buildings, and one of the best ways to do that is to ride the metro. Simply hop on a train, look out the window, admire the city passing by. There are a lot of moments like this in the game, where you ride as a passenger in someone else's vehicle. It's clear on the surface why these sections are in the game. It's so that your character and the other can have a conversation to advance the story or build character, but I think there's another reason why these sections are in the game. The first time you meet Dexter Deshawn is in the back of his limo as his chauffeur drives us around the block. No spoilers here, but this is one of the most important conversations of the game.
You're either somebody or you fizzle out into nothing. Night City don't let you choose.
Oh, but it does.
Dex is one of the best known fixtures in all of Night City, and you're a rookie from out of town, a fresh face still trying to prove their worth here. And as the smoky blue from his cigar filled the air, I turned my head to the window, and I get this familiar feeling. It's like I'm a kid again, being driven to a place I had never been, and all I can do is stare out the window in awe. I can lean my face right up to that glass, and my eyes are drawn from one detail to the next as my head follows naturally to keep up. This world is almost addicting to look at because it's so visually stimulating. These car rides, to me, demonstrate that it's not just enough to say that the game is beautiful. What's special about moments like these is that you get to enjoy it as if you were actually there. By including these seemingly mundane activities like riding in the passenger seat, taking the metro, even using vending machines and elevator buttons, you get this experience of what it's actually like living in this world, and I think that's something not enough games prioritize, VR or not. Mechanics like these are for the most part pointless and shallow, sometimes nothing more than an animation that plays, but I don't think the game would feel the same without them. Now, that's not to say I think more games should start including pointless mechanics for the sake of it, no, but I do think small details like this represent a dedication to immersive world building to an extent that's rare even for VR games. Granted, CD Projekt Red did have 8 years and $400 million at their disposal, so it's hardly a fair comparison when looking at your average VR game, but that's why Cyberpunk 2077 is such a gem to play in VR, despite not being perfectly designed for it. There is some noticeable ghosting when things move really fast, and the digital sharpening has to be pretty extreme for you to see certain details. Also, there's basically no comfort options, so I hope you don't get motion sick. This game does not hold back. But if you do end up trying Cyberpunk 2077 with this VR mod, let me know what you think. This was my first flat screen to VR game I tried, and I'm super excited about trying more, like Alien Isolation, Spider-Man, Far Cry, so let me know which I should play next. Quick thank you to my virtual bros over on Patreon for making this video possible, as well as Kiwi Design. For more VR recommendations, hit that subscribe button. I'm Virtual Bro, and I'm still taking suggestions for an outro. I never know what to say, like, it's fun to say see you later, but that's also boring. This suggestion was pretty good. I liked this one, but someone might already do that. So yeah, hopefully you have some other ideas. Otherwise, I'm just going to have to end this video.